forward, we must protect the world's agricultural GVCs and strengthen the WTO rulebook on agriculture. Because of how vital international trade in food and agriculture is to the attainment of the SDGs, we must strive to keep markets open. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, there were serious concerns that we will see a repeat of the 2008 food price crisis triggered by a wave of food export restrictions. This fear prompted global policymakers, the G20 Ministers of Agriculture and the G20 Ministers of Trade, to call for policy restraint. This call was largely answered. There has been a significant rollback of restrictions that were put in place. Ministers asked that agricultural GVCs not be disrupted. Currently, there are ongoing negotiations in the WTO on food export restrictions that aim to bring greater transparency to these measures and greater advance notice to food importers. The FAO flagship report, SOCO 2020, is right in highlighting this issue. Continue to pursue the long and arduous journey of agricultural trade policy reform at the WTO. The journey started with the 1995 WTO Agreement on Agriculture, but has not ended. Embedded in the agreement is a call for a continued reform agenda. The average agricultural tariffs is almost double the average of industrial tariffs, and there continues to be a wide gap in the WTO between countries bound and applied tariff rates. Agricultural subsidies, particularly domestic support in WTO terminology, are very high and often compared to energy subsidies in their magnitude. These subsidies distort trade and blur the price signals, which make it efficient to trade. Trade can only allow for an optimal allocation of resources, natural and otherwise, if its underlying price signals are not misleading. Export competition policies must also contribute to a level playing field. Recognize that trade in food and agriculture cannot take place without trade in many other goods and services. The WTO rulebook must be viewed as a whole. For example, if trade in agriculture were to be liberalized, but trade in fertilizer is hampered, agriculture would invariably suffer. Fertilizers in the WTO are classified as an industrial product. The same for tractors, plows, and other products, including drones and sophisticated remotely controlled equipment that are vital for contemporary agricultural production. Services trade is just as essential. Farmers need weather forecasting services, commodity exchanges, banking and insurance services, transportation services, and others. We must therefore strive for more open trade across all economic sectors for the fulfillment of the SDGs.